When I first got into basketball, there were only three players in the NBA that I could actually name off memory: Kobe Bryant, LeBron James, and DeMar DeRozan. Watching DeMar dice up defenses with some crazy mid-range scoring, watching him score 27 points a game without shooting a single three for most of those games, made me want to be a better mid-range shooter. Honestly, it made me love the game even more. And even when he got traded for Kawhi, which at the time, before I knew what was going to happen, I was, of course, very upset about that. I watched him play in three more jerseys even after that. I watched him play in San Antonio and Chicago and now Sacramento as well. But now it looks like he's ready to put on a new set of threads, but doesn't seem like anyone wants him in their uniforms. Seems like everyone else was focused on some 41-year-old who ended up signing a minimum contract. Oh, that guy. DeMar DeRozan entered free agency after the Sacramento Kings waived him this offseason, but it really does feel like nobody cares. So I'm here to tell you what teams are interested in DeMar and where I really think he could shine the next season. What's up, Triple Threat? I'm Zafir. You're watching the Triple Threat YouTube channel, and if you like basketball, college sports, or good content of any kind, make sure you subscribe to this channel, ring that notification bell, like this video, and why don't you let me know where you want to see DeMar end up this next season. First of all, let's contextualize where this guy really is in the NBA. He's a 3-time All-NBA player, a 6-time All-Star, and he is 16th all-time in points, 5th among active players, and yes, that is more than Steph Curry. Even though he was drafted in the same year as the greatest shooter of all time, he's the one that has more points. But I admit, I'm looking through some Toronto shaded lenses here. There's some bad stuff too. He's going into his 18th season. He's going to be 37 years old this year. He's never really been an elite defender or even a great defender. He's also been a little bit inconsistent as a scorer in the playoffs, especially with the Raptors, despite the numbers not looking actually that bad. And he still has no real three-point perimeter game. He is exclusively a mid-range and inside player. But regardless, during his prime, he was one of the premier scorers in the league and was a top 3 to 5 shooting guard in the league. I remember conversations on the school bus on the way to school. Who's better, Jimmy Butler or DeMar DeRozan? We all knew Wade was obviously the best shooting guard in the league at the time, and Harden was coming up as well and doing his thing. Harden sort of became a point guard. But DeMar was really up there. 27 points a game for the Raptors was no joke. On top of that, he never plays less than 60 games. He's only been in the 60s 3 times. He's routinely a 70-plus game per season player. And in year 17 last year, for the Sacramento Kings, he played 77 games. I mean, if I was on the Sacramento Kings, believe me, I would be trying to get out of playing those games. But DeMar decided he wanted to play those. Last year was also his first year not scoring in the 20s when it came to points per game since the 2012-2013 season. That's 14 years ago. This guy is routinely, perennially going to get you 20 points per game. He's going to play 70 games per season. Availability is the greatest ability, and his second greatest ability is pretty good too with his scoring touch. But look, at this stage in his career, is he a star player on an elite team? No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying he's just not as much of a non-factor as the lack of conversations and interest around him would indicate right now. I mean, some people believe that he's not even a starting player in the league right now. And to that I say, you know what? On a really elite team, on a top-level contending team, you're probably right. But he has to be the sixth man. And as a sixth man, he would really cause problems for a lot of opposing defenses. Historically, the Sixth Man of the Year award is about who can be the best bucket getter off the bench during a season. Since the award was introduced, the average Sixth Man of the Year averages about 16.3 points per game. And you're trying to tell me that the guy, DeMar DeRozan, who averages 20 pretty much every year, couldn't find a way to get 16 off the bench against second-string defenders? I mean, he could be a key piece without having to be something revolutionary. He's an elite mid-range shooter and a shot creator. He's an improved playmaker. We saw him in San Antonio, in Chicago, really getting good with moving the ball around, finding guys in their spots. And he's also a key veteran in the locker room that could mentor a young scorer. He's never really been a toxic locker room presence anywhere he's been. Generally has been a positively reviewed player by the teams that he's been on. As for his playoff woes, look, the numbers aren't actually that bad, but they don't tell the whole story. But neither do y'all when it comes to DeMar in the playoffs. I mean, in Toronto, DeMar wasn't just the main feature of the offense. He was the whole thing. Dwayne Casey, I mean, look, Raptors fans will remember this. Dwayne Casey would just run isolation for DeMar like 70% of the game. And especially at the end of games when things got tough, the Raptors would move away from what was a beautifully flowing offense to DeMar and Kyle Lowry isos. And as good as those guys are, and they were great in their prime, you can't live off of iso ball with those guys. I mean, teams with KD and Kyrie and Steph Curry, they didn't depend on those guys to iso. They moved the ball. So how do you think DeMar and Kyle are going to do when the entire defense is scouting against them on a team where they're not going to use any other weapons? They're just going to go to those guys. Look, LeBron, Paul George, Dwayne Wade, so many players DeMar had to face in the playoffs at his position. And those teams had other weapons. They would move the ball around. DeMar had to go and create that all by himself. And as a result, of course, those numbers are going to suffer. I'm not trying to absolve him of it. At the end of the day, as a Raptors fan, do I wish DeMar could have helped us in the playoffs a lot more? Of course. But Dwayne Casey's offense certainly didn't help him either. He didn't make the playoffs when he was in San Antonio, but he played a variety of different positions and roles and learned a lot about the game being under Greg Popovich the whole time. He even played power forward and became a very good playmaker, an elite playmaker, I would argue. Then he went to Chicago, never had a healthy point guard over there, but it looked like that team had a lot of potential. Because when Lonzo Ball, him, Levine, and Vucevic were all healthy, that was the number one seed for a good period of time and was a top 3 team in the league, pretty routinely. They were a tough beat. They had everything they needed. And DeMar was like the main offensive engine of that. He was averaging well over 20 points a game. But when Lonzo got hurt and was not able to come back, there was no longer an offensive initiator. There was no longer someone to decide when DeRozan got the ball, when Levine got the ball, when Vucevic was going to get a low post up. Then he went to Sacramento. We all know what happens in Sacramento, right, guys? I mean, nothing is going to happen good over there. And it felt like they were running back Chicago because they got Levine over there and then Sabonis became their super Vucevic. But really, there was never any leadership on that team. The coaching was inconsistent. It never felt like DeMar was going to be able to succeed there. And of course he didn't. He averaged 18 points a game. The team very, very clearly missed the playoffs, but was also not in the range of tanking teams. Although they did get a pretty good first round pick there in Darius Acuff. So we know that when he went to Sacramento, he was going to a team that was arguably the worst run team in the league, apart from maybe Charlotte or Memphis or New Orleans.
Boom. Roasted.
But enough of the past. Let's get into the present and the future. Where is DeMar going and where could he really shine? Where could he contribute at this point in his NBA career?
Look at this.
Well, there's a few places that are interested in him right now. The Cleveland Cavaliers, the Miami Heat, and the Golden State Warriors, after all failing in the LeBron sweepstakes, have turned their attention to DeMar DeRozan. And there's 2 of those teams that I think don't really need DeMar's skill set, and one that I think could really make use of him, plus a team that I don't think is on the radar yet, but could be very interesting. Cleveland is easily the best fit out of the 3 listed in there. Now look, is DeMar going to be a good defender on that team? Probably not. But that's not what you're bringing him on for. You're bringing him on as a bench scoring force to make it easier for Harden and Donovan Mitchell. You want to find a way to add some analytics breaking offensive players to your team, guys that can score in ways that most defenses aren't prepared to guard, and that's what DeMar is with his mid-range abilities. And on top of that, Cleveland, I mean, they were horrible in bench scoring. They were 25th in bench scoring last season. So they really do need someone to just come off the bench and provide them with a steady stream of buckets. I think DeMar could easily win 6th man of the year as a member of the Cleveland Cavaliers bench. Miami and Golden State are also interested after coming up short in the sweepstakes, but I really do think the Heat should be more focused on finding outside shooting and pass-first playmaking as opposed to adding another chef in the scoring kitchen. DeMar, he would end up looking great in Miami. I think a Heat jersey would fit him. But Giannis needs the ball in a lot of transition circumstances, and especially in the half court where he can play make a little bit better. He's a very underrated playmaker. And Bam Adebayo is the 2nd greatest single game scorer of all time. So he's got to have some rights to the ball as well, especially now that Tyler Hero is not there taking the ball away from him. Davion Mitchell is the point guard over there. I think he's a great young prospect as well. A good player to have, certainly as the starting point guard on your team, maybe not the best. You need someone who can distribute the ball, who can move it around to different guys, and you need shooting so that Giannis and Bam can have the insight to themselves. DeMar's not going to space out your 3-point shooting, and you don't need his score-first playmaking. So I don't think Miami needs him. Golden State is an interesting one. I think this is where he could have the biggest role because he would have to be a starter on that Golden State team. There's really not a lot of depth there, but their defense is already bad, and you don't really have a true rim protector behind. So even if your perimeter defense was bad, at least you could force guys to the basket and then get some good contests. But I just don't see the defensive fit there. And then offensively, if Jimmy Butler comes back, you can't play Jimmy and DeRozan at the same time because they have too similar of a play style. And so you'll end up just bringing him on and off based on where Jimmy Butler is. And then at that point, what's DeMar getting? Like 10, 15 minutes a game? He's better than that. He needs a little bit more time to be a real contributor on the team. I'm thinking DeMar is more of a 20-minute per game player, maybe even 25 minutes per game. DeMar does need the ball to a certain degree to score and to be a good contributor. He can come off the ball, he can come off of screens and hit some mid-range jumpers and do some good things in the pick and roll. But Steph should have the ball more, and Draymond as a playmaker on that team, knowing Steve Kerr's offense is going to have the ball more. I just don't think DeMar necessarily fits in that. On top of that, again, defense is just not going to be there with DeMar, so I don't think that the Warriors really make sense. Me personally, I mean, it's a bit of an idealist perspective. I want to see him back in Toronto. I know that there's the beef between him and Drake. You know, everyone who's heard National Treasures off of Iceman is going to know that things are not clean between those two. But if we saw LeBron go to the 76ers and he's going to make up his beef with Jaylen Brown over what Jaylen Brown said over Bronny James not deserving to be in the NBA, I'm sure two guys can let bygones be bygones and so on and so on. Like, they can find a way to make it work. On top of that, even if the Raptors do get Kawhi, having an extra scorer off the bench who's familiar with the team, who gets the fans involved, makes those home games even more lively, I think could be really interesting. The Raptors don't have a lot of shot creation when it comes to big moments. And if Kawhi is going to be your only shot creator late in games, we've seen what happens with the Clippers. It's just not enough. You need to have somebody else who can contribute and make defenses move, make them have to guard multiple players, send double teams. The Raptors are already a great defensive team. So DeMar's lack of defense is not going to be a problem. The only problem with this fit there is the three-point shooting. Again, the Raptors don't already have a lot of great three-point shooters. Emmanuel Quickley is okay. He's a good shooter. RJ Barrett's not a great shooter, but one of the Raptors' best. Scotty Barnes is an improving shooter. And Kawhi, obviously, he's probably your best three-point sniper right now. But DeMar, as a mid-range creator, as someone who can help mentor some of those younger guys on that team and feed some offense into them, I think makes sense. But he's probably going to go to Cleveland. I do think Dallas is like a tertiary option that nobody's talking about that could be interesting, especially because Cooper Flagg, you know, him being there already could learn a few things about mid-range scoring from DeMar. And I think him and Kyrie could be interesting as, you know, late game shot creators. Let's remember DeMar back in the day, you know, in the regular season was a serious clutch performer. And I think the locker room presence could be really, really great with Kyrie and DeMar as your veterans. But right now, it seems like Cleveland, Miami, and Golden State are the three teams that are interested in him. Why don't you guys let us know in the comments down below where you think DeMar will play in the next season?
The more I say it, the less I like it.
Is this guy even a basketball player?
But without further ado, thank you so much for watching this video. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel down below here. Hit that like button if you like this video. Follow us on Instagram. The links will be in the description below for you to do that. Give us a follow on social media, guys. We'll see you on the next one.